going to have today? About the construction that's going by your house and how you have to like live in alternate dimensions because of it.
Oh my God. Nothing sounds worse, and I will quote Sierra with this, than fucking metal against rock.
Oh, yeah. And it kind of what is the word I'm looking for? Resonates. Because it was like when the neighbors behind next door to us were doing the jackhammering their frickin' tile out of their house. You couldn't hear it outside, but in these 2 bedrooms over on this side of the house, oh hell yeah, huge, horribly loud.
Oh yeah, it's been a frickin' nightmare because like they start at like 5-6 a.m. So immediately I hear scratching and I'm like, who's breaking into my house? Fucking Trunchable style.
Yep.
And then I'm wired because I'm like, oh good, PTSD's here to stay.
But on the plus side, they're hopefully curing the issue with which is sad because I would have liked to have done it one more time before we left. However, the huge dip in front of your house where you can literally catch air. And I'm not talking just a couple inches. We're talking big air off that damn hill. And people
so
can scream.
Fucking tired of people screaming over that hill.
I was going to say, the last big one was when when we were talking to him, and that friggin' guy came screaming up and launched himself into your neighbor's house 2 doors up.
Yeah. No, that was friggin' crazy. And thank you for doxing me.
Sorry, you can take it off. I have the animals that like to... Oh, Jesus, I just looked behind me and saw my cat. He kind of freaked me out, not going to lie. I forgot he was in here with me. The wee demon.
I don't know where mine went after she attempted to knock my ass out.
That's probably why she went.
I mean, people know that Salem likes to get up on the door in the bathroom, and she does it, and then she doesn't know how to get back down. She's one of those cats. She would be the cat that if I let her outside, she'd crawl up into a tree, and I'd have to call the fire department.
Not a bad thing, because, our firemen around here aren't bad.
They're not bad looking, so I'm not mad about it. No. But still. So I started walking away, and she decided at that point in time, she needed to jump on Mom.
Mommy, cat.
That's exactly what she did. Just no fear whatsoever. Jumped right at me. I stumbled back. I hit my head against the door frame, and she took off running. I'm like, yeah, you better fucking run.
And all I hear is, oh, that's going to leave a mark.
It is. It's still fucking throbbing. So I'm like, cool, I got a concussion from my fucking cat. It's not worth it if it's not a headboard. Anyway.
Friends reference number 1.
Before we get started today, I do want to do a quick disclaimer because this case is media linked to the Kamloops Triangle cases in British Columbia. And while there are some eerie similarities between some of these cases, I don't want to group them together because some of these individuals are completely different from others. And there's a good amount of information regarding each of these cases. So there's really no definitive proof that these cases are linked. And I just want to do justice to each of them.
Cool.
But before we get started... While we understand that some individuals listen for the entertainment aspect of true crime, it's important to remember that these are real people with families and friends who may still be suffering from their loss. These stories are not meant to open old wounds, cause further emotional damage to those involved. We remind you, please be respectful and do not dox or contact those involved with cases. The cases discussed in this podcast today may be disturbing to some listeners, and listener discretion is advised.
But no trigger warnings.
I don't think there are any trigger warnings.
I don't think there is either.
Because I think you listened to this one. I think this was one of the last ones.
I did, as I was headed to Arkansas the first time and was falling asleep and waking up and going, what the hell, where am I? I'm like, I was dreaming about this dude as I was kept nodding off.
I love it when that happens. That was going on with me and Morbid when I think you were listening to the Jack the Ripper one. I don't know.
Yes. And you woke up and you're like, the hell?
Yeah, I'm like, oh my God, what's going on?
I don't know. We listened to so many while driving across country. It was like, oh my God. Now I've got your dad hook, so he does the same thing. So you're welcome.
So on January 3rd of 1993, Marshal Iwaasa was born in Lethbridge, Alberta, Canada, just over an hour from the Montana border. He was described as a quiet and reserved, gentle and kind type of man. Marshall grew up with only his sister Paige and mother Tammy. Paige and Marshall were very close, and Tammy has stated that it made her very happy to see how the two got along and watched over each other as siblings. Although they were the only biological siblings in their immediate family, they did have a very close set of extended family members and friends that they would go and do things with. Paige and Marshall would end up traveling pretty regularly to enjoy the outdoors, go camping, and their regular spot to visit and travel was Hawaii, where they actually got matching tattoos in Honolulu. Growing up, Marshall played football and rugby. He loved the outdoors and liked to go camping with his friends and family. After high school, he got into fitness and bodybuilding and made many friends from it. Marshall worked right out of high school, first at a grocery store, but eventually switched into a more manual labor-based job in the area. Southern Alberta is known for its oil and gas industry, and Marshall worked on rigs in the oil field, did construction jobs, and even did work with putting up power poles in the area. Eventually, after saving his money and living frugally, he enrolled in a IT software development program at the Southern Alberta Institute of Technology and moved to Calgary, where he lived in a small basement suite apartment below a very nice family, to which they said he was a great guy and they didn't have any issues with him, including that he always paid his rent on time. On Sunday, November 17th of 2019, he'd spent the day doing laundry and chores in the house he rented in Calgary. In the evening, he drove his dark blue GMC Sierra truck 2 hours south to the city of Lethbridge, where he grew up. That evening, Marshall spent a few hours at his mother's house helping her with her computer problems, and she offered for him to stay the night, but he declined, insisting that he had to head back home that evening. Marshall left around 11 p.m. wearing a green hoodie, black pants, a red high-top pair of sneakers, and a gray twerk. Marshall told his mom that he needed to go get some things from a storage locker he shared with his sister Paige for the last 6 years, located in the North Side industry area between Shearing and Churchill, about 15 to 20 minutes away. From there, he'd make his way back to his home in Calgary. Once at the storage facility, Marshall attempted to gain access to the storage locker several times throughout the night. Unbeknownst to Marshall, though, most likely the storage facility was locked between the hours of 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. According to those logs at the storage facility, Marshall had entered his code at 11:30 p.m. The record would go to show that the code was entered multiple times between 11:30 p.m. and 3:30 a.m. before there was a break until 6 a.m. Some people speculate that he could have been sleeping in his truck during these couple of hours while he waited for the storage unit to basically unlock. Now, according to the True North True Crime podcast, Paige was also unaware of these storage hours being closed between 11 p.m. and 6 a.m. It is also discussed that no one's really sure what he was doing or going to the storage locker for, but there are some rumors that he may have been going to look for some warranty papers on his laptop. However, this has never been confirmed.
I was going to say the storage unit where we were at is 10 p.m. to 5 or 6 a.m. too. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much protocol. I don't know of very many that are open 24 hours.
There's a couple around here that are open 24 hours, but they're definitely, I wouldn't say, the nicest storage units in town.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of them in this town that aren't the nicest storage units. So, yeah.
Yeah. So when he finally unlocked the unit, it was just after 6 a.m. on November 18th of 2019, and he stayed just over 2 hours after that. He was still in the area around 8:30 a.m., but after that, no one knows what happened. In a remote mountainous area of British Columbia, the Brian Waddington hut structure in Felix Creek on the shores of Long Lake, North Pemberton, British Columbia. It's a hut that sleeps about 40 people. And from what I could find, it's basically in a valley surrounded by peaks of different mountains. And I absolutely love that these mountains are named after characters from J.R.R. Tolkien's Lord of the Rings.
I'm just going to a hut that sleeps 40 people?
Yeah, it's huge.
That's not a hut, man. That's a freaking mansion. Are you kidding me? My hut sleeps 3 people.
So
I'm going to start calling it a hut.
Mount Aragon. There's Mount Shadowfox, Gandalf, and Peregrine, located about 15 to 20 kilometers from the main road. On a service road near the Brian Waddington hut, on the approach trail, which is about 18 to 20 kilometers away from the main road, a traveler or a pair of hikers came across the remains of a burnt out vehicle. One James M. Stark posted on social media on November 23rd of 2019 to South Coast Touring regarding the find, stating, "Had a crazy experience this weekend trying to get to the Brian Waddington hut. We took the 4x4 trail all the way to the trailhead, and when we arrived, we came onto quite a scene. There was a burnt out pickup truck that smelt very fresh. In addition, there were possessions thrown all over the area, including 2 passports, 3 smashed cell phones, a smashed laptop, ID cards, toiletry bags, and clothing. It felt like a crime scene and had a very eerie feeling to it. We turned around and left, deciding not to hike to the hut with a fear of walking into something. Obviously, our whole group was thinking about the Canadian manhunt from the summer. We called the police and reported it. I thought the community would like to know before anyone drives 4 hours to the trailhead, only to be turned around." And the Canadian manhunt from the summer that they're referring to is what I presume is a double homicide that is also thought to be linked into the Kamloops Triangle murders and disappearances.
Right.
So we'll get to them another time. But just for reference, that's what I'm presuming is related there.
Okay.
So from what I could gather, photos were taken of the truck by hikers, and when they made their way back down the trailhead and were able to gain some type of cell phone signal to post the status, authorities were also called. According to interviews with Stark later, his group was the only one scheduled to stay at the hut, and they were on their way there when they discovered this vehicle. Now, like I said, the service road is about 18 to 20 kilometers away from the main road. 13 kilometers of this drive is on gravel road, and the other 5 to 6 kilometers is on a logging road, which requires 4-wheel drive. Directions to get to this location are not available on Google Maps or GPS at the time that this is happening. Additionally, this isn't an easy place to get whatsoever. In fact, it took the BC RCMP almost 2 days to fully access the site.
Jesus.
The RCMP first attempted to locate the vehicle on the 24th, but were actually unable to find it, and they had to go try again the next day. In the process of trying to locate this burnt out vehicle, one of their vehicles was actually very badly damaged, and from what I could find, had to be towed back down.
Wow.
Authorities arrived on scene on November 25th, and more photos were taken of the scene. They were able to identify the owner of the vehicle, and family members were notified by the Pemberton RCMP that Marshal's truck had been found in a remote area of Pemberton, British Columbia, and they wanted to know if Paige and Tammy knew where Marshal was. Authorities did not elaborate on the circumstances in which the vehicle was found. Additionally, at this point, Marshal isn't even thought to be a missing person to his family, so they're absolutely shocked to be receiving this news. Also, Marshal's mother, who had seen him just days prior, was with Paige now in Hawaii when they received this call. Paige recalls how stressful and crazy the following days were as they tried to piece together what the hell was happening from Hawaii. They started immediately calling around to friends and family to see if any of them knew where Marshal was or if anyone had seen him, to which they had no lead regarding Marshal's whereabouts. Marshal was quickly registered as a missing person, and within 3 days, a Facebook group was formed, Find Marshal Iwaasa, and it's created by his family. The first search of the site was conducted by Pemberton, Whistler, and Vancouver RCMP in November of 2019. Another smaller search was done in 2020 by Pemberton RCMP, and both searches yielded very little results. The gap in time for these searches is also due to the weather that the area can experience, and during the winter, it has very drastic snow melt going into spring. So this area is basically inaccessible from like the beginning of winter to towards the middle or end of spring, possibly even further.
Seeing the pictures that I'm looking at right now, I completely understand that because it's just like, whoa. Mm-hmm.
Due to this, the initial search was going into December, was suspended on December 4th of 2019 by the BC RCMP due to the ongoing snowmelt. Later that month, Pemberton RCMP turned over the investigation to Lethbridge Police Services, since Lethbridge was the last area Marshal had been known to be in. During this search of the scene, police who examined the vehicle in the area at the time offered no evidence to suggest criminal activity, and that there was no evidence to suggest that anyone other than Iwaasa was present when the vehicle was burned. There were, however, 3 phones and a laptop recovered from the scene, as well as Marshal's green hoodie. The computer was confirmed to be Marshal's, and so were the phones. However, before you go on down the rabbit hole like I did, the phones appeared to be older ones that he'd simply kind of been discarding in his vehicle, which, in all honesty, I mean, I have a phone that I keep in my car for music. However, I mean, I don't use it anymore, so it's just kind of sitting there.
I was going to say we got a shit ton of them here in this house.
Exactly. So I'm like, that's not entirely
kind
out
of
of the
understand
question
that.
for me.
Yeah.
I get that.
Yep.
Additionally, from information given on the Facebook page, there were obvious differences between the photos taken by the hikers on the 23rd of November and those taken by the RCMP when they arrived 2 days later on November 25th. While the original photos taken by the hikers, items were scattered about at the scene, the ones taken by the RCMP showed that these items had been sorted out into neat piles. For example, there was just a pile of information regarding Marshal, like passports and other papers. There was a trail of Marshal's clothing going into the woods. And since you're looking at the PowerPoint right now and you're kind of chiming in here and there, and I imagine you're going to steal these pictures for Instagram and those
probably
sites.
am. I've found more. I was actually out on not Google, but Brave or whatever. But yeah, I'm finding a few other ones. But yeah, it's like all of his stuff is just laid out in a nice line.
Yeah, you can see like the hikers photos on the 23rd, and it's all kind of like scattered everywhere. But on the 25th, things have been moved around and shifted into more organized piles and like structure going on. So it's like, okay, what the fuck is going on there?
Was it kindly campers taking care of it or wind? Because technically wind could do that. I don't know.
The wind's gonna move it into nice organized piles. What are you, a fucking airbender?
Never know. Come on. If it's got a backing of some sort and the wind can like push it to one area, you never know. I'm citing on the air of weirdness, but it is bizarre. That's for
You can't
sure.
see my face right now, audience, but it is dumbfounded that we're thinking that that this air is moving things into correct piles. Like, oh yes, I am Zeus, Sky Daddy. Let me move the clothes over here and the passports over here.
But think about it. When we have a big windstorm come through, we have walls up around our fucking house. Yet the wind still manages to come down and push everything to one spot or another, depending on the direction it goes.
Everything to one spot. There would still be disorganization with materials. These things are sorted out.
Yeah, that is the odd thing. And it's like, granted, the pictures don't do it justice because they're so far away and I'm fucking blind. But still, it's like, it is, yeah, it's one of those make you go,
But according to True North True Crime Podcast's information, the RCMP didn't blame this on wind like you are. They actually blamed the moved items on animal activity.
That was going to be my next one. You didn't give me a chance.
Which
I was also going to say kindly hikers, too.
Maybe kindly hikers. I can see that more than Smokey the Bear coming through and organizing his shits. Like, oh, this could be Tinder.
I don't know. He protects us from forest fires, so... Oh, Lord. Whew, off on a different tangent. Anyways.
So, according to the Canada Unsolved and the Find Marshal Iwaasa Facebook page, there were some items that were not found. Those include Marshall's current cell phone, a Samsung Galaxy 6, it's pearl colored, a Mountain Hardware Scrambler 30 backpack, a SAIT issued Samsung laptop. So that's from his school.
Mm-hmm.
His wallet, which they believed was a Nixon brand with a screen spot for his license, as well as his contact lenses and solution.
What the hell?
Additionally, the family had also stated that there are items that were recovered from the scene that they established did not belong to Marshall. However, the Lethbridge RCMP have not investigated the items found at the scene or have looked into confirming their owners, according to Marshal Iwaasa's family. According to the facts page on the Find Marshal Iwaasa Facebook page, these items included both an Xbox and a PlayStation console that were found at the scene, to which Marshall did in fact own one of each of these consoles. However, they were still at his home in Calgary, and the police have not confirmed whether Marshall owned the Xbox and PlayStation at scene as like duplicates. Which I'm like, if you already have two gaming stations at home, unless there's something dreadfully wrong with one, I don't see the purpose of buying multiples of a console because it's very expensive.
How many PS2s do you have?
Okay, to be fair, one is mine. The other one would be Zach's that he brought over to our house.
How many Xbox 360s?
I own one.
Dad's got the other.
Dad's got the other. Because
Same
he was
thing
like,
with the Xbox
I don't
One.
want to play on split screen with you because I want to see what the hell I'm doing. And then what did he do? He went to racing games and he never played with me again. So...
Oh.
Fucking tiniest violin.
Well, we bought you an Xbox One. You used it for what? A couple months, and you're like, nope,
Because
PC gaming is the way to be.
To which I have 1, 2, 3 computers. So,
but that's what I'm saying. Devil's advocate.
I can see buying more than one console, but it's an expensive endeavor to put into, and he's living very frugally. Like,
Well,
he's not
maybe
buying
because
things
he's
unless-
like you, and he likes to have the gamer stuff. He likes all the good stuff, the fun stuff.
Maybe, but it's not confirmed if it's his or not, and if it is his, like.
Yeah. You would think they would be able to do that, but I don't know. Anyways.
Outside of this, the family did state that they are not releasing details regarding the other items that were found, as advised by a private investigator that they are working with. On Friday, May 22nd of 2020, the truck site and the surrounding area were searched by cadaver dogs. And when the search had been completed that evening, the family was informed that they found nothing. The next search took place on June 24th and involved Lethbridge RCMP, Pemberton RCMP, and other members in surrounding detachments and organizations. In total, 12 officers, along with 15 search and rescue personnel, searched the area. Helicopters and all-terrain vehicles were used to access the site. Members of the Canadian Search and Disaster Dogs Association also conducted a ground search. The RCMP fire investigator also attempted to investigate the manner and cause of the fire regarding Marshal's truck at this time. 7 months after Marshal had disappeared, and not to mention after going through snow melt and other types of environmental changes which can greatly affect how evidence degrades. The RCMP has not released their findings, but according to a private investigator, the cause was arson. According to the Lethbridge RCMP, some items have been fingerprinted and others are being saved for future DNA testing. More unfortunately, by the time the police began to investigate the disappearance, the CCTV footage from the storage facility was no longer available. The CCTV footage is deleted every 7 days from the storage facility.
Damn it.
Originally, due to the position that Marshal's truck was in and a recent rock slide, it remained where it was because it was physically impossible to remove. However, due to a structural damage due to snow at the Waddington hut in 2023, the truck was removed. Pemberton and Lethbridge RCMP say that from the onset of their investigation, the disappearance is considered to be suspicious, but, and I quote, "There's no credible, corroborated, or compelling information to suggest foul play or that the occurrence is criminal in nature." Marshal's family do not believe that he would have known how to get to the site or had ever been there before, as well as when they did try to go up that way, they did get lost a couple of times themselves.
Oosh.
Nor do they believe that he would have been able to drive his truck up to the destination without knowing the route. Additionally, Page does comment about how they were told that visiting the site was dangerous due to its terrain, and this solidified the idea that Marshal was not at the scene alone. When Page was eventually able to visit the site in July of 2020, she notes on, "It was so hard to get up there," emphasizing the distance and struggle of getting to the area Marshal's truck was at and how it took them over 30 hours to do so.
Jesus Christ.
She goes on to note how Marshal's truck would have been so trashed by the time it made it up there that it wouldn't have made it back down. In addition to this, the whole steering wheel column of the truck had been removed, to which the RCMP knew from the very beginning, but the family was never informed, and Paige learned about this during her visit in July.
The actual hell.
There is also no paper trail of how Marshal got to the area outside of the Brian Waddington hut, or if he actually was there at all. There's no gas receipts, nothing. His card has not been used since November 17th. There's always a possibility of a cash transaction, but they don't know how likely that is. Additionally, his phone has not been used since then either. They do not believe that Marshal would simply choose to disappear and go off the grid. Considering Marshal had spent 2 hours at the storage unit prior to going missing, and a tent, sleeping mattress, camp stove, axe, cooler, and tools were not taken. They believe that if he had chosen to live off the grid or disappear into the wilderness, these are items that he would have taken with him. Additionally, the family believes it's unlikely that he would have disappeared to start a new life. He'd paid off his truck and most likely would have sold it rather than burning it in this case. Additionally, he didn't have insurance to cover a fire on his vehicle, so he wouldn't have been able to collect insurance money from burning it to the ground. Further investigations have also not seen Marshall pawning off items or selling items. So they're starting to believe something happened in Lethbridge due to its high criminal nature surrounding the drug trade.
Ooh.
It was also determined prior to Marshall's disappearance that he'd stopped attending post-secondary classes, his college classes, and he'd apparently not registered for the fall semester either.
That doesn't look good.
Furthermore, when interviews were conducted with close friends, many of them had mentioned how he had been experiencing stress in his life and became withdrawn leading up to the disappearance. An investigation into his financial, medical, and social media activity also provided context to corroborate this. Regardless, though, this doesn't mean that Marshall's case should be simply ignored or discounted as a possible suicide. His family is still looking for answers to what happened.
If anything, it's more questionable on what the hell either caused him to tip or what was he involved in that caused this issue.
Yeah, possibly. Additionally, no body has ever been recovered from the site. So context of things I've heard regarding like wildlife experience personnel talking about missing persons in the wilderness, it can be hard to find a body. However, it's not impossible. And for his stuff to be scattered everywhere, the truck burnt out, you would figure he wouldn't be too much further than that. But he could be.
He could be, yes.
He could be. And it could be simply just one day hikers stumble upon him. But until then, nobody knows what happened.
Oh, that's just horrific not knowing.
It's so easy for these cases to be swept under and to just get overlooked or passed off as self-harm, suicide, or getting lost. It's so easy for that to happen, and there needs to be some kind of systematic changes happening to how missing persons cases are handled. This is a quote from Paige, Marshall's sister.
I agree.
I full-heartedly agree as well. So, more information regarding Marshal Iwaasa's case and to stay updated on what's going on today and what you can do to further help the family, you can join the Find Marshal Iwaasa Facebook page.
Discussing just the weird thing is most people don't try that big of an adventure type of thing without notifying somebody else. I'm just, for him to just take off, go to basically nowhere in the middle of the friggin' mountains when he was supposed to be going home. After going to the storage unit. Kind of. Yeah. If he has much patience sitting around waiting for the damn storage unit to open up, you would think he would have told his sister or his mother, hey, I'm going to go try this 4-wheel drive trail and see what it's like. But he wanted to get home. That's why he was waiting for the storage unit to open up so they grab his shit and go back home, right?
Yeah, basically.
Why would you all of a sudden decide, I'm just going to go do this instead after going to the storage unit? Something doesn't ring 100% there.
Exactly. It's not fully... It's not logical in my opinion. However, there's also speculation of, did he actually go to the storage unit? Or maybe he was like waiting for it to open and then somebody took advantage of him before it could get open, took the passcode and went in themselves and snooped around a little bit.
Oh, did an Israel key scratch in the PIN number?
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, that's possible. It's just, there's weird stories out there. I mean, like your not real, but quote unquote Uncle Adam, who just jumped up and decided to go try out a 4-wheel drive trail at the fucking middle of dinner without finishing his food and ended up driving himself into a tree and killing himself. Weird things do happen, but It's like, wow. That seems like an awfully long, weird thing to happen. And just seeing the remoteness of the area, holy crap.
And to get up there in the time frame that it presumably did, it's still just one of those things that's like, what the fuck happened here?
Yeah. Well, I just look at the pictures and everything. Like the one that gets me, well, not only the burnt out inside of that had to have been a raging goddamn fire.
Mm-hmm.
The other one that I saw, I think it was out on Google or something, just where they had the road and there was like, looked like pavement, but it's not. It's just gravel where they parked everything and the truck was parked on. It was like, that was kind of bizarre.
That is eerie as all fuck.
Right? And you're looking at it, it's like, is that a dirt road? And it's like, nope, it's all burnt around it. Mm-hmm. Granted, it's been a few years in because it's changed color. You can tell the rust is happening. But it's like right in the middle of the fucking pathway.
Mm-hmm. It's just a really odd spot for it to be at.
Exactly. You would have figured pull it off to the side, right in front of the cabin, something like that. And it's like, no, it's just... It's weird.
And like I even put it in the slides, all the different possible pathways that he could have taken to get up there. And
right.
Like the shortest is like 12 hours and 50 minutes.
And he was supposed to be heading home, and
yeah,
that's what makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It's like all of a sudden he decided this is more important to do.
Yeah, and mind you, like, if he was going to Calgary, that's complete opposite direction.
Exactly. Yeah, I think he met up with some nefarious dudes.
I think he might, and even if he didn't, like, meet up with some nefarious dudes or wasn't involved with something like that, maybe he saw something that he wasn't supposed to.
Exactly. But even then, Jesus Christ, I can't think of a basically criminal element that would want to take you that far into the wilderness to do something. It's just kind of
it's weird. It's very strange.
But they're also linking a few other names with him too, so who knows?
That's with the Kamloops Triangle.
Yeah. But yeah, there's too many. It's just weird.
Just too many questions.
There is not enough answers. Something doesn't ring right on this.
Yeah.
And just noticing that the doors on the one that you have, oh, nope, that door's closed. The other ones are open. It's just the amount of, it had to have a propellant. Did they ever search to find out if there was a accelerant used?
The fire marshal came out. However, it was 7 months after this had happened. Well, if you think, like, let's say it's an alcohol-based accelerant.
Right,
ethanol,
it would have evaporated.
It evaporates over time. You add water to that, there's dilutions, and then you have to take into consideration what all's going on in the environment itself, too. So coming out 7 months after a fire is rough.
Right. I'm just noticing that the seats are gone completely, but the front window framing is basically where the seats would be.
Yeah.
And the steering wheel, needless to say, and gear shift, it looks like, too.
Whatever was in there, it was very, very hot. Whatever was burning.
Well, to get rid of the frickin' steering column, I'm sorry, but it'd still be there. It
would still be there. It's metal. Somebody pulled that out.
What the fuck? Why that?
Why that?
Honestly,
it's such a fucking heavy thing to carry back down the goddamn mountain. What the hell?
Well, exactly. Is that my trophy? Let me sling this around my fucking head and walk down the mountain. I'm like, this is just bizarre. Oh, I hope somebody puts some stuff together on him and finds... answers. Basically, all we need are answers of what the hell happened. Mm-hmm. It's just bizarre, to say the least. And then to have a bunch of stuff missing. Well, not a bunch of stuff. What is it? 5 items. His fucking contact case. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, it was items that, like, you would presume that you would take if you were kind of running away. However, like I said, there are more items that were not there.
Yeah.
That they haven't released just because private investigators said don't talk about these items. And I can understand withholding information in order to get a clear confession if somebody does come forward eventually.
Right. I get that. It's just bizarre.
But it's like you take his wallet, but you leave his passport and ID.
Okay. Other than the wallet would have had
Cash
credit
in
cards
it, maybe.
and shit like that in there. Even
But
if it
there
had
was
cash,
credit cards
you take it out.
Even there.
I was going to say, even if it had cash in it, you take the cash out and toss the wallet.
Exactly.
It just makes no sense.
It's weird.
And that's why I say the randomness of him just up and disappearing, but taking these 4 things with him doesn't make sense. So.
All right.
Wow. Okay.
Well, here are some demographics about Marshal Iwaasa, and you'll have to excuse me because he does not have a NamUs profile. He is...
Why is that?
Well, with...
Oh, he's Canada. Okay. Never mind.
We do have Canada people in
do we?
NamUs. However, it's just that some cases don't get reported into NamUs, CODIS, those types of things. Some of them don't get filed incorrectly. I mean, finding some of the cases that we've already covered, like Amy Lynn Bradley, I had to go physically Google her stuff to get her case to actually pop up because it wouldn't otherwise. So it might be there. It might just be buried, and I couldn't find it. So with going through notes upon other documents and news articles and information from the Facebook page, I categorized together a kind of rough sketch of what we usually do with missing persons. But because there's no standardized database for these types of things, sometimes things are a hit and miss.
Yeah.
So Marshal Iwaasa is male. He is 5'11". His weight is 170 pounds. Hair color is brown. The hair description is curly, short in length. Eye color is brown. The date of last contact was November 17th, 2019. He is missing from Lethbridge, British Columbia. Age at disappearance was 26 years old, and the current age today would be 30. Additional information regarding Marshall's vehicle: it is described as a GMC Sierra 4-door, dark blue in paint, with a Alberta license plate BLL 1099. If you or someone you know has any information regarding Marshal Iwaasa's case, you are asked to call the Lethbridge Police at 403-328-4444. That number again is 403-328-4444. Or you can submit a tip with CrimeStoppers at 1-800-222-8477. That number again for CrimeStoppers is 1-800-222-8477. Or visit p3tips.com. Additionally, if you can please take a moment and follow the link in the show notes below to the change.org petition and sign to have Marshal Iwaasa's disappearance to be investigated as a criminal case. Currently, at the time this episode is being recorded, there are 6,431 signatures, and the family is pushing for 7,500 signatures.
Yeah. Everybody get out there and sign. Let's get him moved up so we know what's going on.
Thank you again for listening to Spattered. Please make sure to follow the show on Facebook and Instagram at Spattered Podcast and on X at Spattered Pod. If you're enjoying the show, make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, or wherever you get your podcasts from. If you're watching on YouTube, like this video, subscribe, and ring the notification bell to be notified when the show goes live or drops a video. As always, if you have a case request, any questions, or are interested in sponsoring the show, please email me at spatteredpodcast@gmail.com. Spattered is a true crime podcast hosted by Caitlin Gardner and Sarah Ray. The research and edits for this episode were done by Caitlin Gardner. All the music for the show was done by Lucio Cardenas. We'll see you next time. Stay safe out there. And remember, the truth is always in the blood.